Hello everyone, I'm Hafiz.
And I'm Parkson.
We are the fathers behind the podcast We Are Dads Too. We discuss everything from being an effective father to a good co-parent to our spouse.
We also have guests and experts on our show to talk about the different aspects of fatherhood. Come and join us to discover more about our experiences as fathers because
We are Dads Too. Click on the link below to follow us on Spotify.
From the statistics, a good 20% of cancer can be linked back to obesity and being overweight. So that's very important to keep our diet healthy.
Hi, I'm Hafiz, and this is We Are Dads Too, a podcast for fathers by fathers. Each week, we will have conversations about different aspects of fathering. We will also be speaking with experts to get their opinions. Today, my co-host Parkson and I will be speaking with Dr. Mariam. All right, and the topic today is very relevant to not only mothers, fathers, families, because we're talking about the enemy within, or the hidden enemy in our families. We're not going to talk about anything about conflict between people, but this is hidden enemy. Why? Because it is unseen, but it's there. So what is it? We'll be talking about today, Dr. Mariam. Yes.
But first, let's introduce. Let her introduce herself. Tell us a bit more about what you have been doing and what are you doing currently. Yeah.
Hi, so I'm Dr. Mariam. You can call me Mariam. And I'm a cancer drug discovery researcher before, and now I'm in the wellness industry. So I started off my journey in NUS studying biochemistry, and that was where I studied about all the pathways in the body. How we process the food, and then how different molecules are formed, like our all the pathway for respiratory pathway and all that. And then after that, for my master's, I've always been interested in natural medicine, and I got opportunity to continue my master's in Malaysia, where I did research about plant-derived drug leads. So basically, I went to the forest and we collect plants, and from there I extract the plant and I test which of this plant extract can cause the cancer cells to stop growing or to die. Okay, so after that we will go further and study which of the molecules in the plant that causes this effect. And after I finished that part of my study, I was interested, so now I know how drugs are made, and I'm curious about how drugs work in the body. So that brought me to my next journey, which is for my PhD. I studied exactly that, like the pathways in the body, what happens when someone takes the cancer drug. Okay, we call it cancer medicine, but in our research nomenclature, we call it a drug. And then try to understand which of the pathways, this relate back to my bachelor's, where I was studying all the pathways. So now it goes to which of the pathways are affected. And we go down to the level of studying genes and, what is the function of each gene, and then which of the function is affected. Yeah, so that was what I was doing.
Wow, that's a very, very big area. What got you started in this line of study in the first place?
Can I say it's by serendipity?
Okay. And what does that mean?
By chance.
Okay.
I mean, by accident, by chance.
Yeah, but it's planned accident.
Planned accident. Opportunity comes to the prepared mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my interest has always been in natural medicine, or we call it traditional medicine, basically because when growing up, my grandparents, they originated from Malacca, Malaysia, so they lived in a kampong, and my parents would often bring us back to visit the grandparents, okay, during holidays. And we grew up quite a fair amount of time lah, like spending time with the grandparents. And then while I was there, I get to see some of the practices that I don't understand, like with the herbs. And for example, I used to have this sinusitis, or like, they call it resdong in Malay. And then my mother just brought me to the kampong medicine person. And she did something, like she put something on the ear, like a roll of paper, and then they burned that paper. And I was like curious, like, what is that? And then they open up and show like some things inside. Oh, these are the germs that came out. And I'm baffled. Like, what is this? I don't understand this, And actually, I was already interested in all this before even TCM came into Singapore. And when I went on my when I started my bachelor's, I was actually looking for this field, and I don't know what it's called. And I just asked my mentor, do you have like herbology or something? And it's like, he looked at me, what? It's not even heard of at that time, here at least. So I still had that interest. So when I finished my bachelor's, TCM just started to enter Singapore in the labs, not in the hospital yet. And I applied to all 3 labs that were around that I found on the internet. I didn't get any reply. And then after that, my friend was going to Malaysia, and he said that his uncle is working on something in this area and invited if I would like to join. So I did. I visited the lab, and then I just told the prof that what I was interested in, like getting to know more about traditional medicine, but I want to know something more scientific about it. Like, can it be studied in a scientific way? And it was exactly what they were doing. They were studying the chemical constituents in the plants. And they do go and interview the indigenous people and find out what are the medicines that they use. And then they study that. So I got the opportunity just because I was already looking for it. Yeah. And so I jumped at that. And I think a lot of people ask me, like, Malaysia, why do you go from Singapore, you go to study in Malaysia? And then I said, because that's where they have that field of study. Basically that.
And then from there you went to Sweden to do your PhD.
Yeah, that was another serendipitous opportunity. Because after I finished my master's, I didn't really have plans. So I was looking for a job. I was applying like in the MOH and at that time like some labs. But then I happened to attend a talk that is organized by A-Star. And they invited international universities and institutes. So after that talk, I just asked every representative that, do you have something like traditional medicine or herbology? And 2 of them replied, yeah, they have. And then just one of them said, why don't we meet up for an interview? So I went, and then we chat, and I told him what I was interested in and what was my background in my master's, what I've done. And he said, okay, I can recommend you 3 professors you can write to. Tell them you have done the interview with me and I recommended you. So I wrote in, and one of them said yes. By the way, by that time, I was already accepted for a PhD position in NUS with a scholarship. But then it didn't start yet until like 6 months later. And then the prof told me that, why don't you go somewhere in another lab and just learn some lab techniques. So what I applied for when I wrote to these 3 professors from Sweden was asking for a lab internship for 6 months. Yeah. And when the one who replied to me, and I went there for 6 months. And after the 6 months, he invited me to apply for a scholarship to do PhD in Sweden. And I said, okay, I just apply. No harm applying. And then I got it.
Wow.
So I'm like, okay, let's do this.
Okay, so the part on the cancer research, when did it come? Bye.
Okay, so it happens that for my masters I was studying the plants, right? But then we need to study. Okay, so we already have this constituents of the plant. Okay, we extract the plant extract. But then what do we study it for? Then there are different labs that my main lab is collaborating with. One of them was studying on nitric oxide, and then another one was studying cancer, and I think there are several others. So it happened that I started off with the nitric oxide, but I couldn't, I don't really enjoy doing that because it affected my health. We were working with radioactive substances. So I said, I don't want to do this project. And then they said, okay, why don't you work with the cancer lab? Yeah. So it happened that, I started that.
So let's talk
research.
about what you learned and what, are the latest knowledge about cancer. I find this information quite very interesting, and I'm not sure if it's been around because this is actually the first time I'm hearing it like that. And it says that the causes of cancer, 95% of it is attributed or attributable to environmental factors, and only 5% can be attributed to the inherited genes from our parents and, predecessors. That's amazing. Only 5% is genetic and 95% is environmental. I think we all understand the genetic part. Can you explain the environmental? What does it include?
Yeah, so this is the thing that I came across when I was doing my PhD, when I read more papers, because my PhD was really about cancer, and I was studying about the genetic pathway, like how it's affected. When I came across this statistics, it also baffled me, because what? Only 5 to 10% is due to inherited genetics. And 90 to 95% is due to the environment. Then why don't we do something about the environment? Right? And it happened that this was also about the time I was pregnant with my first child. So I was really interested to dig into this part of the environment. And okay, there's a funny story I want to share with you, that when I got pregnant, okay, and there the culture in Europe is that you only announce pregnancy when it's past the 3 months mark, because that's when the pregnancy is more stable. And when I announced to my co-supervisor, she looked at me, "Congrats, Mariam. Are you wearing double gloves?" And what? So for my lab experiment, we need to wear gloves,
right,
to protect the material, but also to protect ourselves. And we are supposed to wear double gloves for some of the experiments if the material are more hazardous than others. Okay. And when she asked me that, I'm like, what?
Okay, it does have effect.
Yeah.
You, right?
So I quickly went and looked at the MSDS, which is basically the safety sheet, the material and safety data of the chemicals that we are using in the lab. Almost everything is either carcinogenic or teratogenic.
Very dangerous, in other words.
In other words,
carcinogenic, I know,
means can lead to cancer. Teratogenic means you might grow an organ in a place where it's not supposed to grow. For example, a teeth in the brain.
So it's kind of a deformity, right?
It's kind of a deformity, yeah. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to do any more lab work.
Right.
I mean, sorry. But, of course, there are supposed to be, safety precautions. That's why we are supposed to wear lab coat. And that lab coat is not supposed to go out of the lab. That is one of the procedures. And also gloves. And that's where the double gloves. And the gloves is not the normal glove you can buy from the supermarket. It's special glove for the lab. It's some nitrile. And they really test the materials so that things don't pass through. So that was my first what do you call it?
Moment.
Aha moment. And
oh moment.
Yeah, I think it's more of an moment. And I think maybe Google, they always read our mind, right?
Yeah.
And then I start reading a lot of articles online, and I find like, oh, what articles are harmful for babies and pregnancy. That was also about the time that I stopped wearing makeup, and I,
Makeup.
Okay.
yes.
Really? Okay.
So
What did you learn about makeup?
this is the thing. Okay, so now let's go to what are these 90 to 95%.
Yes.
Okay, before I go into the makeup part. Okay, so from the statistics, a good 20% of cancer can be linked back to obesity and being overweight. So that's very important to keep our diet healthy. And then the second one after that is actually diet. 5% is due to diet. But then diet again is also, like diet is diet lah. Our nutrition. So when you combine that together, overweight, being obese, and the diet includes like, are you eating a lot of what kind of food? Like, is it high carbo, high processed food, and like high, maybe not say cholesterol, but no, it's more like preservatives. Yeah, all those kind of things. And that constitute to about 25%. That's 1/4. It's already a huge amount. And then the rest include, for example, 5% is sedentary lifestyle. So if you don't exercise, you don't move much. And then there are other factors like chemical factors, physical factors. Physical can be like UV light, and then even like biological factors. Biological factors, for example, can be like the HPV virus. And do you know that malaria, if someone get infected with malaria, it can also pave the way to developing some cancer. Yeah. So it's there. These are some of the things that I can mention. Of course, there's quite a lot lah in the courses.
Right. So, talking about at home,
Yeah.
right? Because most of the time our children are at home or even in school. Okay, what are the things that they should look out for that really have all these chemicals and that causing cancer?
So this is the part where I call them the hidden enemy,
Yeah.
right? The hidden toxin. Because these are the things in our daily life that we are not really aware about. But one of the major group of chemicals, okay, that are actually bad for our health, I wouldn't say cause cancer because it can be bad in different ways, is the term, if you read, it's called fragrance. Yeah. Especially those artificial fragrances.
And these can be those things
aromatherapy kind of stuff, right?
No. I'm doing aromatherapy stuff.
Okay.
So what is
Because
this?
those
Perfume?
are natural. But, we have also to be careful because aromatherapy, it can be some companies, they because they want to get the big buck. So they dilute it a lot or they will add artificial stuff. So that's when it becomes bad. But then that's where I've looked for those that are pure that would have a good effect, for example, like relaxing and it really helps us. So that can be another talk altogether. I can talk about aromatherapy for a good few hours.
So
I've been doing that for 3 years now in that
Okay.
line. Okay, but artificial fragrance, like if you just write fragrance, so that's the thing that nobody is policing this area.
These are the one you're talking about, the spray that we use for the house.
Anything.
Yeah.
Okay. For example, you look at the ingredients. When you buy your detergent, did you look at the ingredient?
Okay.
No.
We look at the brand.
You look at the brand,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
And whichever smell good, right?
Yeah. Soft. Usually the what softener, right?
Softener.
No, what's that? They call it.
Softland.
No, that's the brand, but
Softener.
softener,
Fabric
softener.
Yeah.
Yeah. Usually has to smell nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, if you just want to keep it simple, right? If you go to look at the ingredients, can you understand what's written in the ingredients?
No.
Of course not.
That's why we don't read it.
Yeah, that's why I
It's
don't read it.
purposely to
Okay,
not let us
so
understand.
I can maybe give you some tips. What are the things
Okay.
to avoid? Okay, one of them is fragrance. If it write there fragrance and it doesn't write anything about being natural, and then the other one is SLS. I think it's sodium lauryl sulfate. So SLS is something that it has been found to may be harmful. Okay, then you have phthalates. Phthalates is also another thing. So these are the things that can come up to the top of my mind for household stuff,
So fragrance,
cleaning
even
stuff.
the shower cream that we use, all
Yeah.
that has fragrance, right?
Yeah.
And this one, for example, one of my kid has they call eczema,
Yeah.
and she has always been advised not to use the normal, shower cream, the one with fragrance especially.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why I say they are harmful, and I don't say that they cause cancer because they can be harmful in different ways. Fragrance in particular, they can be hormone disruptors. Yeah. And also like for the skin, because the skin, whatever you apply on the skin, right, it is the first thing that you direct apply to the skin. So it's like the first line of defense. So it will try to react first. It will try to stop the thing from coming first. So it will give some kind of reaction. And hopefully, we will listen and don't put that kind of thing on it lah. Yeah. So I always believe that our body tells us stories. So if we wake up in the morning and always having back pain or whatever pain, then listen to the body. Yeah. And like for example, you are mentioning about eczema. Then it's good, right? Because when you go to the doctor say, okay, don't use those that have fragrance.
Yeah.
So actually you're already avoiding, something that's harmful, even without you knowing. But you already see that reaction from the body. So listen to the body. Yeah.
So I guess the takeaway is that cancer is very preventable if we are careful about the things that we put into our body. And I think you would. I was looking through your social media, and you also mentioned the mind. What you put into your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, your mind and your body, and it comes in the form of food, as well as external stuff like we were talking about. Chemicals in detergents and anything in the households. So all these could be sources where these hidden toxins come in touch with our body and maybe penetrate, for example, our skin, and everything goes deeper in, and that's where the whole process starts in terms of creating cancer cells. Am I right to say that?
In some cases, yes, it may, lead to cancer formation. But in some cases, it can be other things like hormone imbalance, or like even some studies shown that some preservatives in food may be linked to, for example, the spectrum like ADHD or autism. So it need not just mean that it can lead to cancer, because our body is so smart. It will try to spread out the if it has a burden, it will try to spread out the burden. Like, where can we handle that burden? Will it go to this pathway? Will it go to this pathway? So you will see all the reaction from the body. And that's where if we listen and react and respond, to the body, then that's where we can go towards wellness lah. I think we understand, and then because understanding is the first step, and then accepting. And then after that, you look for the solution. And that's why for me, like, when I know this and I read about all this, at first I was just like putting it in a Facebook page, just for myself, because like I keep losing the articles. I say, okay, let me put in one place so it's easy to refer. And then it became a blog, because like, hey, I should share this with my family because it's important information and it's good information. And then it is from there that, slowly I think that, hey, this is something that is not just for me and my family. I would like to share this with the public. That's when I start to do like public talks. And now I'm doing courses. I run courses on like cancer prevention. And on the cancer prevention, I even collaborate with other experts like a nutritionist who has been 8 years in a hospital working with cancer patients, and also a cancer exercise specialist. So the three of us, we form this backbone of the cancer prevention, cancer care workshop. And there's another part which, another course I organize about understanding the 8 components of wellness. So this can also be related to like finding the balance in life, because when we understand the different components of wellness, we can strive to achieve that balance.
Right. I think this word wellness is something that more popular these days. I think because people are getting more sick, all right, getting more stressed. And I think you mentioned about the mindset, the mental. So can you explain a bit on how you can prevent cancer or through
Achieve
for
wellness.
the mind.
Yeah.
Okay, this one is we don't really have absolute evidence. That's why whatever I'm going to say, it's more like take it with a pinch of salt. It's more anecdotal. Anecdotal means is what people share from their experience. So I've met people who say that when they had cancer, and then after that they changed their lifestyle. So they try to reduce the stress. For example, like they leave the workplace that have been giving them so much stress, and their condition improve. But also, of course, they took the medication, they changed other lifestyle like the food and reduce exposure to chemicals. But they said the stress aspect really helped them a lot. And one of my collaborators, the cancer exercise specialist, so he joined one of the labs in the US when they were doing research about the effect of stress on cancer patients in their recovery journey. So so he also said there may be some relations there. It's still an ongoing kind of study, and we still don't know yet how does it directly or indirectly affect. But what I would say that, yeah, I mean, it's good to reduce the stress. Because other than cancer, right, you have probably heard about people who are working in the industry, very high stress industry, for example, the stocks market. Some people, they can suddenly just drop because, they're so stressed following the fluctuations, and then they get high blood pressure or heart attack. So it can come in different forms of harm. So it's always good to reduce the stress and also like negative emotions. Yeah.
Well, you have a website, and I would encourage all our listeners to go there because I'm sure you have found this topic very interesting. It's not just for your own benefit, it's for your whole family. And with this accurate information, you can guide your children, especially, into a life of wellness and health. The website is wellnesswithmariam.com.
Wellness with Dr. Mariam. But
Sorry.
the doctor is DR, not DOC.
Wellness with Dr. Mariam.com. Doctor spelled DR. Okay. We'll put the link on our Facebook page as well as Spotify. Please look out for it. And thank you for joining us. And thank you, Dr. Mariam, for sharing this very important information with us. All the best and good health to you and your family too.
Thank you
Thank you,
too.
Dr. Mariam.
Thank you,
Okay.
and stay safe, everyone.
Yep. Thank you. This podcast is brought to you by Iman Catalyst Community, which is missioned to elevate hope by transforming lives through social education initiatives as well as personal development programs. We are the medium that come in between NGOs and their beneficiaries to enhance their sustainability and impact. If you'd like to know more, connect, and collaborate with us, you can reach us at Facebook and Instagram at Iman Catalyst. That's spelled EMAAN. And we would like to work and partner with you.
Thank you so much for tuning to this week's conversation. We hope that this episode helped you in your transformational journey as dads. If you like this podcast, make sure you review, follow, and share it with your friends. For more episodes and resources on fathering, check us out at We Are Dads Too on Facebook and Instagram.
We would also like to hear your comments and questions, so please feel free to share them on our FB and IG pages and also our Twitter, and be connected to other dads too. Until next time, let's take the next step to be the special dad we are meant to be. Take care and stay safe.